on LinkedIn, please just repost so that your people can see it as well. So yes, let's get started. My name is Folakemi Osho, and I lead investments and operations here at Oak. Before we begin, I will just tell you a little bit about what we do at Oak before we get into why you're really here. So Oak Club is a community of creators and operators backing entrepreneurs in building scalable businesses for Africa and its diaspora. Our mission at Oak is to support founders who are leveraging technology to build economic infrastructure for Africa and for Africans, right? We started Oak Club in 2020, a club that started with, just two people who really wanted to back businesses building for Africa and for Africans, has now grown to a community of over 700 members across the continent backing businesses building for Africa. So far we've deployed over $3.5 million in about 115 deals and about over 90 unique companies, right? So what we are doing is backing businesses that are building for Africans and for Africans in the diaspora. Enough about that. If you want to learn more, you can just check out our website at oak.co, or you can send us an email at hello@oak.co if you have any questions about what we do, or if you would like to join the club as a founder or as an investor. Right. So today, I'm super excited. Oh my God. I'm excited to introduce our speakers for today. We have Chinasa and we have Cobih. I sort of do not want to introduce them. I want them to introduce themselves, right? So that, I don't think anybody can introduce you more than you introduce yourself. So I would pass it on now to Chinasa to introduce herself, and then to Cobih to introduce himself, and we can get the conversation going.
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Chinasa Okolo. I just finished my PhD last year in computer science at Cornell University, and now I work at the Brookings Institution in Washington, DC, which is a public policy think tank. And so my work more broadly focuses on how African governments can best enable effective AI governance. And then also I do some work with the African Union in developing their AU AI continental strategy for Africa, and also with the Nigerian government on developing their national AI strategy. So very happy to be here.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Cobih, do you want to introduce yourself before we get into conversation?
Yeah, of course. Chinasa is a hard actor fellow. I'm just a lowly product manager who've worked in several big tech companies over the last decade. And my last role, I was building and leading product for Stack Overflow web viewing generative AI solutions to solve problems that our users were having, and using AI to solve those evergreen problems that we couldn't solve previously. And it's an honor to be on the same stage as Chinasa, because she's an incredible human being. So I'm happy to be sharing stage with her, and then hopefully we're going to learn more together from her knowledge. Thank you.
Okay, great. I know this was not our plan, but maybe, before we get started, you can just talk a little bit about I know both of you are OG Oak members, right? Maybe you just talk about your time at Oak, a little bit about your investments, and then we can go into conversations. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll start. So yeah, I've been a member of Oak for about 4 years now, and so have gotten a really good opportunity to invest in companies across the African continent and also in the diaspora. And so I think I've made maybe close to 30 investments or so over the past couple of years, which has been really great, and been also fortunate to see some exits as well. And so definitely looking forward to continuing my journey with Oak. But yeah, I felt for me that at the time in my life when I started investing with Oak, that I just wanted to diversify and also get an opportunity to help support some of the emerging tech startups within the continent and also in the diaspora. And so it's been really great to see how my portfolio companies and also just Oak's companies have evolved over the past couple of years, and also great to see how the investment trends have changed over time, especially due to the impact of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, similar to Chinasa, I joined Oak about 2020, so about 4 years now, and I've made about 30 plus investments in that time as well. Her have also had some small exit, or hopefully we get some big exit. We know what has happened to the market in the last couple of years, so the market's a little, contracted at the moment, but we're hoping for rebounds towards the end of this year to next year. But it's always down to sports founders who are doing great things, improving the lives of people on the continent. With what we're talking about today, AI, this is going to be incredibly important. How founders going to be tapping these new technologies to even accelerate on the progress they're doing, or find new problems to solve that they couldn't solve before. So hopefully this conversation we'll have today is going to illuminate some of those ideas that people can start thinking about and take forward. And obviously, if you're a founder and you decide to do that, please make sure you invite Hope, because we'll love to invest in any generative or AI solutions that you're looking to build for the continent. Thank you.
Okay, great. Just before they start, please, if you have any questions, feel free to just raise up your hand, or you can just use the chat. And with that being said, I'll pass it on to Cobih and Chinasa to educate us. Really.
All right, I'm gonna again, it's an honor to share the stage with Chinasa. You're a very accomplished human being, so happy to have you here. Today, I'm gonna try to learn more along with other people who are viewing us online around AI. I only know a little bit, but that's your field, So let's start with some light question. What is AI, and what has happened in the last year or so in the AI space?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, thanks, Cobih. Also, an honor to share the stage with you for this AMA, and looking forward to the discussion that we have. So to get started about basically a very simple definition of AI, we can consider it to be, different systems, especially those that are technologically enabled, to help them understand how to perform complex tasks, like reasoning, decision making, and also solving different problems in various fields. And so to get to this process, these systems are trained on basically multitudes of data within specific fields. That they could be, like image data, voice data, or text data, which has been very popular, for different applications. And so I would say it definitely boomed within late 2022, more so like late 2023, honestly, with the introduction of ChatGPT's OpenAI's ChatGPT tool. I feel like this is the first time that people that were not technologists or computer science researchers, or just like those heavily involved in the tech field, were actually able to interact with AI for the first time and really understand like its power. And so I definitely think that OpenAI kind of set the precedent for what we know as AI today. We also know that generative AI is only a very small subset of what AI is overall, and so there's many other different aspects of it, like computer vision, deep learning, natural language processing, etc. And so yeah, we'll probably get into this more in a conversation.
And thank you for that. I agree. Like, I was working at Stack Overflow building something unrelated to AI, then ChatGPT dropped, and my entire strategy got blown apart, and we had to pivot the entire company like response to that. So I can agree with that. With the launch of ChatGPT, the AI space had been top of mind on mainstream across users. Before, it was just niche around people like yourself, I imagine, but now everyone knows ChatGPT. So thanks for giving us that background. From your perspective, what would you say are the pros and cons of AI?
Yeah, so for me, I would say the pros are definitely, the ability for it to be applied to many different fields, especially within more pressing domains like agriculture, healthcare, education. And also, I would say just the ability of AI overall to, understand and get especially nuances from large swaths of data in order to make decisions. I think this also comes with some cons, especially in terms of how these decisions are being made. Sometimes I think that anyone who's interacted with AI systems, especially chatbots, very extensively, understand that there are, a large potential or high potential for these tools to, let's say, like hallucinate or create basically false information. I experienced this myself when trying to outline ideas for research projects. And so I think that this is a big issue that, it's been hard for companies like OpenAI and Google to address in their chatbots. And so hopefully we see some, I don't know, kind of redress for this soon. And also a big con that people don't necessarily, or not necessarily aware of, is that, actually developing and using AI systems and tools takes up a lot of resources and is contributing to climate change. Companies like Microsoft, Google, OpenAI are investing heavily in data centers to actually power their systems and tools, and they're putting these centers in deserts, which already, are very sparse areas, and citizens and residents in these areas are having to fight back because it takes there's different estimates in terms of like how much energy it takes to prompt an AI system, but estimates have said like it takes about 16 ounces of water. And we know that millions of people are prompting every minute. And so I think this is a big concern that honestly has shaped how I actually interact with these tools as well. And then with the cons of AI, we've also been aware of the many issues of algorithmic bias that's been happening over the past couple of years. People like Joy Billamwini, a former researcher at MIT, has really exposed many of these issues, especially as it pertains to facial recognition. And now that we're seeing AI being applied in more nefarious contexts like warfare, for example, I think we have to really be concerned about how these tools are deployed and also used to affect or impact marginalized populations.
Yeah, to add to that, we've seen some of this stuff have gone mainstream, like when Google provided Google Gemini with the image creation, where the image creation was very DE&I focused. It couldn't generate any white person, so they had to shut it down. Till today, that product is not back online. And similarly, when they provided the AI summarization, and they had this pattern with Reddit, where it's like, oh, to make your pizza, you can add glue to it, and like people started calling it out. But another con you mentioned is around the energy consumption. You notice that Google today announced that they now have this thing called prompt caching, where it would reduce the energy usage by 70%. That left to be seen if that's going to be effective, but they're trying to address some of these concerns around the cons of having these large language models and these high compute in these data centers across the world. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really important because we also see that, African countries bear the brunt of climate change, but while only contributing a very small number or like percentage of emissions. And so I think these initiatives will be very important, and I hope to see them scale. So now I'm going to get into asking you, Cobih, some questions. You've had lots of experience in tech, and we'd love to learn your experience, your insights on, which industries are benefiting from AI now, and then also how can that apply to the continent?
Thank you for that. I think in all these industries, really, you can the benefits of AI is very generalized. Like you can use it in different applications. In healthcare, you can see AI being used in diagnostics by helping doctors diagnose X-rays and cancer applications. So AI can accelerate a lot of things that people are already doing. In drug discovery, we see Google DeepMind do AlphaFold, one of the biggest things that before AI went mainstream, that was the biggest innovation. I was at Google when that happened, and I can see like all the joy of what AI has accomplished there. Personalized medicine, a lot of in Africa, we don't have as much specialized care as we have in the West. So AI can help accelerate and democratize the personalized medicine with patient care management. In finance, AI again can be used in risk management. There's a lot of investments going into that space, as we've seen, like the CEO of PayHippo, who retired or who quit his job several months ago, starting a company in the risk and detection. And I think that's due to the proliferation of AI. There's another company called Orca, based out of South Africa, that just got fundraised for $500,000, and they only started in January. So these are some tools that already exist in the West. So AI can help us do that. I believe in market creating innovations, from the Prosperity Paradox book. We have to look at how we adapt this technology by, solving non-consumption. A lot of the challenges we have in Africa is not like the technologies don't exist. They do, but we probably can afford it, or we don't have the infrastructure for it. I think AI can help us accelerate those market creating innovations. So I think that's how we should look at it. And again, in agriculture, which is one of the big things, we have to feed our people. There's this company called Digital Green. It's a non-profit, and what they do, they use generative AI to democratize good farming practices. The farmers in Kenya and in Nigeria, and they're trying to like localize it in different languages so that way they can connect better. In education, ChatGPT, caused a big stir around people being able to like do their homework, and now AI detectors. For me personally, when it comes to education, I use these generative AI to learn technical knowledge really quickly, like how what is AWS, what is EC2. Like these are not things that I know off the head, but in a matter of hours, I can be maybe college level understanding of these technical concepts. So AI can also support education. In Africa, what we need to do is we need to start building local capacity. For example, the work you're doing in the Nigerian government is a good start. Trying to build some AI research. We need to start addressing data challenges. I think AI inherently is a data product, right? It's not a really magic. It's just algebra and advanced algebra of data, So, but it needs clean data. It needs a data that's local data. For example, the problem we have today is everything online is from the West. It's all in English. There's nothing around our ancestry, our villages, our customs. So we need to provide those data, those clean data for us to create our own AI. We need a partner for success, with international organization, research institution, and private companies. As you can see, like in, say, for example, in Middle East, Microsoft was partnered with AI-71, in Japan as well, Sakana just launched. So those are the kind of things we need to do for Nigeria and for Africa to, build our own data pipeline, then partner with big organization. And we should all obviously focus on impact, right? Let's use this AI to solve problems that around ESG, problems like poverty, that's still a big concern. Healthcare is a big one, and food security. Everyone's going crazy around the cost of tomatoes right now in Nigeria. So perhaps we can use AI to solve some of those challenges. And obviously, ethical considerations need to be made. We need to ensure that this AI is used for good and not for harm, because the chance of it harming us and putting all of us out of a job is very high. So those will be the things I think I see today and how we can apply it to the continent.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks, Cobih, for those really interesting insights. I actually learned about some companies I wasn't familiar about. And so we're really seeing the investment ecosystem kind of heat up within the continent when it comes to AI startups. And so how do you see AI contributing to the economic growth of African countries in particular?
I think it can boost our productivity and efficiency, to be honest. With AI, one of the things you've already seen in the West, which might end up being a problem for us in low cost of living areas, is the fact that with one person, you can do more. So I think, if you're a small business, if you know how to use this AI product, you can hire less people. An example is, take me and Joey, for example, we're building something, and Joey's like, we need a website. I'm like, yeah, we do. And with the help of AI, we were able to build a website in 5 minutes. I'm like, Joey, tell us the mission, tell us the vision. What do you try? And it felt like magic to him. That happened in 5 minutes. So think of small businesses on the continent. Instead of hiring a software developer or a designer to do that, with the help of AI, they can put up their website in 5 minutes and be open for business. Service sector, customer service is a big problem we have. Especially for Nigeria, we're just bad at customer service. I don't care what anyone says, right? One of the good things about AI is very polite. You can use AI now to build a chatbot using your documentation to answer those questions. So now you have an AI who can do customer service for you while you sleep. And again, more polite than the average Nigerian small business. So that could be a productivity boost, and can even increase business for people. In healthcare, we've already talked about some AI diagnostics. I'd like to see more of that happen on the continent. Financial services, as I say, risk detection, fraud management. Everyone who is on the continent, especially in Nigeria, know how bad, these scams can be. So using this fraud detection that AI now powers is something that I think we should see more of. Education is always a big one. Perhaps there's ways for AI to transcript. Actually, it's already happening. So something I was looking at the other day. There was these program that I watched as a child that I felt like made me very techie. It's a German program. It's all in German. I'm like, I wish I can dub this stuff to English or to maybe Swahili or Yoruba so my kids can watch it. So with AI, I know those things are going to be available in the near future. So there's so many opportunities that I think we can use AI in the continent. And I think founders should start looking at this stuff, like what are challenges, what are problems they have in their daily lives, that now they can see if AI can build and fix that. And if AI doesn't exist and fix that, perhaps that's an opportunity for them to go fix. So there's so much we can do. I think the coast is very clear for Africans to look at how can we use this AI to change our lives for the better.
Nice. Thank you.
And let's switch gears. Now let's come back to you. So what are some measures you think can be taken to mitigate the risk of job displacement due to AI? We've seen that that's a big concern, right? Because you can reduce the cost, and Africa is a low cost of living region. We've seen what's happening in India with the government also saying, putting some kind of regulation around it. So from your perspective, what can we do as Africans to mitigate these risks?
Yeah, I would honestly say that, there's been so many different reports, especially from McKinsey and, other consulting firms like PwC. And I feel like, I would say some of these risks are actually a little bit overstated, just because a lot of the benefits where we're seeing AI happen, especially when it comes to like jobs themselves, are actually upskilling, white collar work. And there's little impact, I would say, in some of the more traditional fields like factory work and manufacturing and, those areas. I think that there are many potential, opportunities for African startups specifically to contribute, and also African research academic labs to contribute towards building tools and systems that help farmers, for example, improve their crop yields, or also help, factory workers improve how they build or develop specific tools. But I think the biggest, benefit I see right now is for, AI to help white collar workers, improve their respective outputs. So for example, for academic researchers, helping them to do better literature reviews to a certain extent, and then also, produce higher quality, research publications, which can definitely help improve how funding comes to these researchers. When it comes to mitigating the job risk or the risk of job displacement due to AI, I think the most important thing is upskilling workers to understand the limitations and benefits of AI. I think that, again, just due to the many misconceptions about how AI works, I think that people feel like it can address basically anything that they want it to do without really understanding like how it can do so. And so I think that also really understanding like these limitations of AI can also help managers specifically understand that it may not necessarily be able, for AI to do this certain function, and that a human will always have to be involved in this process. I think that for many, and also many existing regulations, especially data protection regulations in the continent, also provide, consumers with the ability to opt out of having their information processed through, algorithms. And so humans will always have to have some oversight over that process. And I think, upskilling is really important, just because in Africa particularly, residents, I always say, suffer from a lack of digital literacy, and this also plays into how AI literate they are. And so we'll have to do a lot of work in ensuring that workers know about AI tools, and then also that they're able to effectively leverage these tools in their work to make sure that they can use these tools in ways that, don't engender, existing biases, and also don't cause harm to marginalized populations.
So to dig in a little bit deeper, I hear you around upskilling. I do think it's a big part. I mean, Africa has always needed to upskill. One of the reasons we're able to compete today is the fact that a lot of people now, we have a lot of software engineers. Now we can world class, and now we can export people. So I think for us to attract more work to the continent, we do need to upskill more people. We need to educate more people. We need to, obviously, the work you guys are doing with the Nigerian government is going to, work towards empowering more people. But I also wonder, is there nothing, do you not worry that the risk might be so severe? Because look at the people who are leading this work. We have Sam Altman, who is like the most Machiavellian CEO that we've seen in the last decade or so. Even when you have people like Elon Musk worried about you, I think the rest of us should be concerned. So do you not think the government should take a closer look and maybe put some guardrails around these technologies to make sure that we don't end up being beholden to some Americans who control the entire, AI world?
Yeah, I think this is really important just because, for example, the Stanford AI Index report showed that Kenyans actually have a very high adoption rate of tools like ChatGPT. And so these tools are basically infiltrating African countries and being used on a daily basis by African consumers. And so I think it's really important that they, be, I would say, supervised, and also that for, any, let's say, misgivings that happen, that, countries themselves are actually able to seek recourse. So for example, I'm not sure if many people know this, that Time reported on how many Kenyan workers were actually involved in the training of ChatGPT itself. And they were very involved in I would say, the lower tenets of this, which is data labeling and data annotation. However, they were repeatedly exposed to graphic content. They also worked very long hours and were not properly or sufficiently compensated for their work. And so there's been a lawsuit from these workers against OpenAI, but just given, the respective enforcement capacity and also legal capacity of African countries, or Kenya specifically, it's really hard to understand if these workers will ever seek recourse from AI. And so I think that it's important that we bolster our existing protections throughout the African continent to ensure that these kinds of harms don't continue.
All right. So Michelle, I know you have your hands up. If you don't mind, we're going to wait to the end to ask questions. Is that okay? All right. Thank you for that. All right. So one more question for you before we switch gears. How can Africans try to attract more investment in AI technologies?
Yeah, so one thing I think is really important is really understanding where to provide value within the AI ecosystem. I think that, a lot of startups after, the first major 2 releases of ChatGPT were really focused on providing wrappers for basic functions for, OpenAI's tools and products and leveraging their API. But we saw how in subsequent releases that their essential product market fit was obliterated by these updates. And so I think that it's important for, African startups to really focus on, I would say, essential use cases of AI. And then also I think the data and the models themselves are very valuable. And so providing ways, for novel models that necessarily are able to understand African data and context. I think this is really important just because we also see that the majority of these popular AI tools on the market, they don't serve African languages. And if they do, they don't serve them well. And so I think that there's a really strong need for, like an African kind of ChatGPT. I know this is already in process or in progress by companies like Lelapa AI in South Africa that are focusing on, targeting the South African languages, but they hope to expand to other languages as well. And so I think this is really important. And then also other startups like Amini in Kenya and also Awari in Nigeria are really focused on the data side of things first, and providing this data that's needed to build and develop these systems, and also just providing, I would say, also focusing on like the labor aspect of it and providing opportunities for residents within these countries to participate meaningfully in this AI development process. And so that's where I see how African startups can really attract a significant investment for AI, and then also hopefully gain significant product market fit for their tools.
It sounds good. I completely agree. I mean, we've seen investments from these big AI companies like OpenAI and Google licensing data from like Reddit and Stack Overflow. Why not? What's the popular Nigerian websites was it Naira Land?
Yes, that's
You know,
it.
isn't that on Reddit? You know, why is OpenAI should be paying them money to license that data? Speaking of languages, like I said, Digital Green is one of those NGOs that are using generative AI to democratize information to farmers. One of the my friend works as a director of product, and one of the challenges is like beyond Swahili, they don't have enough data to get other languages like Kikuyu, because Swahili is just one language that's spoken in Kenya. So let's say you go to Nigeria, you might be able to get Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa. What about Urhobo? You know, so there's a lot of opportunities for us to, you know, create new languages and sell this to AI companies, or use it to build on AI ChatGPT, for example. Like if you look at Duolingo, that's been around for many years. I've been still waiting for my language to be on there so I can refresh. So there is a huge opportunity for Africans to attract investments there if we can solve problems that we are better suited to solve and uniquely empowered to solve. Thank you for that.
Great. Yeah, thanks. And so we know that, you know, there are many opportunities to enter into AI, and people may be trying to understand how they can best position themselves for to enter an AI role potentially. And so for you, Cobih, as someone who works in AI, what are the opportunities in the space, and also how can people maximize them?
There are a ton of opportunities in this space, to be honest. Like some of the opportunities I just mentioned, right? You know, Naira Lands is our Reddit. It's the only Reddit most Nigerians know. Granted, people say it's a cesspool, but people say the same thing about Reddit as well. So there's no real difference. So to me, that's one opportunity now. The other opportunities I mentioned, like our local languages, like those are dying. Like I'm Igbo, and I don't speak Igbo fluently. And the reason is because I left Nigeria at an early age and I haven't had the tools to be able to educate myself. To me, that is a very huge opportunity. If someone creates a Duolingo alternative that I can learn Igbo, perhaps, you know, that's a market right there, because Duolingo has shown they weren't willing to invest in that space. And there's a lot of African languages, so you don't even have to worry about these Western companies, because it will never be big enough market for them to invest into doing it. So we have to be the one to use this technology to invest in those spaces and solve those problems. So like I said, so many opportunities. We've talked about the ones in healthcare. We've talked about the ones in finance. We've talked about the ones in customer service. Now we're talking about the ones in language learning. So again, using this market creating innovations strategy, we should be looking at problems that perhaps due to non-consumption or price or cost challenges or a lack of infrastructure, now we can use AI to solve them. Those would be the things I would expect founders to be looking into. In fact, when I was at Stack Overflow, that's exactly the strategy we used, right? There were a lot of challenges we had on the Stack Overflow website or the platform that we couldn't solve. But with the AI, it's like, oh, wow, we can solve these 20 things that was on our backlog that we needed so many engineers to solve. So those are the things I would expect founders to be looking at. What are problems they couldn't solve before due to maybe the cost to hire so many engineers and designers and data scientists? Now that cost gets reduced because you have a foundational model that can get you 80% there, and you need humans to get you the rest of the way. So that would be my challenge for any founders listening on this call. Any aspiring founder that's listening on this call, this is your call to action to go look for problems that you have in your daily life and see how AI can solve them for you.
Most definitely. Thank you. And so next, what do you see as the main challenges related to access to AI technologies in Africa?
The biggest one would be compute. As you can see, like, AI, when it started, you know, November 2022, you know, that's when ChatGPT dropped. A lot of people started putting AI wrappers around it, but now we've seen like those startups are dying one by one. It's either OpenAI kills you, or Apple kills you, or Google kills you. I mean, Apple did with Apple Intelligence, whoop, a lot of AI startups just died that way. And I expect that to keep happening. So which means only the incumbents, the big guys who have the compute, are really going to be making the money. So I think that's going to be a huge challenge, because these compute are not cheap, right? Because AWS is going to say, oh yeah, you want to do an AI? Yes, we're going to sell you, access to AWS. But as we've already seen some cries earlier this year and last year with African founders talking about AI, AWS is so expensive. So to me, I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges. And I also see that as an opportunity for African governments to support these enterprises. Like I said, in the Middle East, you see AI 71, even though it's a private, well, it's not really a private company, it's the government, funding billions of dollars for these compute and these stuff for them to be able to compete with the world against China and Japan. So I think we need to do stuff like that, either as a country like Nigeria or as a region like ECOWAS or the entire continent, the African Union, of saying, hey, we're going to have our own compute, so that way we can empower these new founders. Again, data quality is a problem. We're allergic to data in the continent. It's kind of hard to find data on the continent. It's like it's a kryptonite for us. We need to build a pipeline of our data and also find the ways to clean it. Because if you're talking about how a lot of Kenyans were employed by OpenAI to do this stuff, I think they employ Scale AI, who have labelers in Kenya. So we already have the capabilities of cleaning this data. So why not us, right? These Western companies are actually coming to us to do this data cleaning. So why don't we do this? Again, that's an opportunity for anyone listening to us. Open your own Scale AI to start doing this data labeling and annotation for African companies and selecting African currencies. That's another opportunity right there. So data privacy concerns were not very good at protecting data, people's privacy. Again, if we're going to compete in the world, we got to use, try to meet standards like GDPR, which is the best when it comes to data privacy, right? So we need to be thinking when we build these software, build these technologies, how do we make sure it's addressing the GDPR? Because no company from the West is going to buy that data if it's not compliant, because they still have to spend money to make it compliant again. We also have the infrastructure challenges like, limited connectivity. Internet is still very expensive. The amount of money I pay for internet in Nairobi that I'm sitting, I pay maybe like $40 to $50 a month for 20 megs. That same amount of money in Dublin gets me 500 megs of data. Bandwidth. So it's like, so we need to reduce the cost of data so that way more people can be connected to the, like I say, inefficient computing power. We already talked about the skills gap. You mentioned that earlier. We need to upskill people. I know part of the work you do with the Nigerian government is trying to do that. We need to actually scale that up faster and get to the the places that need us the most. So there's so many things we can do. Financial constraint, high cost. I've touched on that. And policy and regulation. Again, I brought that up earlier on. Governments need to put guardrails around them. And socioeconomic factors. You touched about the cultural barriers that we need to fight through, because in some parts of the world AI still feels like magic, which magic means witches, which is we burn them, we don't touch them. So there's certain things we need to do. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I think with a concerted effort we can start inching away at these problems to make some progress.
Agree. Yeah, you touched on so many different aspects, and so I hope that those aspiring founders in the room are taking note.
Thank you. So let's switch gears again. Can you share any AI success stories from Africa that you know of?
I think the most prominent one is InstaDeep, and so I think a year or so ago they were acquired for around 700 million, and so I think that's probably one of the most prominent exits within just the whole entire a startup ecosystem within Africa, and so it sets a really great precedent. They're based in Tunisia. They also have offices in Europe, I believe, in France as well, and so I think they've done really great work. One, in just publishing in premier machine learning conferences, especially those that are held in Western countries. And then also, they had a really interesting partnership in helping develop one of the earliest COVID-19 vaccines. And so I think this also would help propel, their company, and also show that and put them on a global stage. And so we'd really love to see more African countries, or see African startups, have this kind of exposure that InstaDeep has gotten. Also, I think that the grassroots AI community within Africa is honestly very thriving, and I point to them a lot because we've seen lots of different advances, especially within machine translation and natural language processing, or NLP. And so, for example, some groups like Masakane, Deep Learning in Daba, Data Science Nigeria, AI Saturdays Lagos, and Ghana NLP, and many more have been really focused on building these niche grassroots communities of AI researchers and developers to tackle and address African problems, especially as it pertains to preserving culture and language. And so I really love the work that they've done. Also, some of the founders of Masakane actually launched their own startup, Lalapa AI, last year. I talked about them earlier in the call, and they focused on developing Africa as a primarily large language model. And so we'd really love to see more of these spinoffs happen to improve the AI ecosystem overall.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I read about that InstaDeep raise. It was massive. Like it came out of nowhere. Never heard about them before. Then yeah, 700 million. Like that's a huge payday. And I would believe like we need more InstaDeeps on the continent. You know, we need more people building AI from the ground up. One more question before we turn it over to the audience. What types of AI projects are most needed in Africa right now?
Oh yeah, there's so many, and I think Cobih, you also talked about a couple as well. I think honestly, I think data projects will be very helpful just because, again, we don't really see a lot of interoperability between the countries themselves and also within existing the countries themselves. I think that it's really important. And we also have like a lots of paper-based systems, especially in the healthcare field. And I think that companies focus on either digitizing, this data and also making it or into formats that are accessible to others and also able to be machine read will actually provide a lot of value and also really help uncover some of the issues that have been underlying within different African countries and also help provide or help accelerate the development of novel tools or solutions to help address many of these pressing issues in healthcare as well. I think that also in general, just models are developing AI models that are actually able to be commercialized and developed into, like consumer-facing tools like ChatGPT will actually be very helpful just because we're seeing how OpenAI has been able to capitalize on this and actually get significant investment from companies like Microsoft and, other significant investments like between companies like Anthropic and Amazon have also shown the power that these AI companies bring to these large giants, tech giants. And so we'd love to see more work done in this space. And I think that when we focus on domain-specific issues, the prominent issues, healthcare, education, agriculture are all there. I think education, we've seen a lot of help in this space with companies developing chatbots and personalized tutoring tools for students. I just saw a company, I can't remember their name, unfortunately, talk about how their tool was actually helpful in students scoring high on JAMB in Nigeria. And so would love to see more efforts towards this.
Yeah, that tool is actually built by a friend in Dublin, Fundamate.
Yes.
They've been building this work for before ChatGPT even dropped. They use GPT-3, and now I think they do have some partnership with Meta where they're going to be leveraging Llama. So nice to see that's resonating across the globe from beyond just our Dublin shores. Now we're going to open up the questions to audience. Michelle, you previously had your hand up. I don't, Folakemi, how much time do we have for questions? I want to be mindful of the time here.
Let's give it another 5 minutes, maybe.
All right, in that case, we're going to take maybe 3 questions and we're going to try to be very, very concise with our answers. Michelle, you want to go first?
Hi, thank you. This was so informative. So well done for having this. I just want to know your opinion on if you're trying to go towards AI in Africa, but there's still basic issues like light, especially when you're talking about data, storing data. I know that there's the cloud, but there's also on-premise that involves electricity, that involves things like that. Like, so how can Africa, how can Nigeria especially progress in AI, but they haven't even solved the light issue? Like, how will that work?
I'm going to let Chinasa take this one because he's working with the Nigerian government anyway.
I think it's honestly like a tandem effort. You know, the government has received significant investment from the World Bank to focus on expanding, I would say like telecommunications infrastructure. And I'm not sure of the progress of that, but it would be great to see more of this happen. But it also has to happen like in advanced speed. And also there are, you know, different methodologies within AI that actually help people run and actually train models on smaller devices. So mobile computing and also like tiny machine learning or tiny ML has also been a field that's taken off, especially within like the Raspberry Pi community. And so I think that, and also it's actually not necessary to have a very large model to accomplish, you know, basic tasks. I think that people should also embrace, you know, smaller models, especially for very niche use cases. And so this can definitely help expand and how people are able to train and leverage these systems. And also, you know, the open source AI community has also been very helpful. You know, Meta just released some new models today. And then also Google has models, and Hugging Face has been a big repository for people to access, or researchers specifically to access models. And so this has kind of helped that gap. But, you know, I would say countries definitely have to focus on this basic infrastructure for African countries to be competitive within AI globally.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Michelle. And I do agree with Chinasa, like, and I like your question a lot, Michelle. Like when we start talking about how does this affect, how do we, you know, compete in this age? We're competing with candles and lamps when our mates have solar energy. So yes, African governments need to really take it seriously to empower us and electrify us, at least in the urban cores. If we're not talking about the villages, maybe the cities should have, you know, high-speed internet. They should have 24-hour electricity, or make it cheaper for people to be able to pay their solar bills in installments. Like any country you go in the West, you don't have to pay your solar for your solar power right away. The government will give you stipends and so on. So there's so many things the governments can do to bring electricity, which is going to in turn improve our productivity. We're going to go by the first to last. Kojo, you have your hand up.
Cobih, there's also a question for you in the chat as well. So maybe
really?
First, yeah. So it's from McLean, I believe.
Cobih, how rarely would investors and VCs invest in startups not using AI in the next 5 years? That's a very tricky one. I like that question. I still think AI is still in the hype phase, right? I think if you ask, if you pick 10 random people on the street and ask them if they use ChatGPT in a day-to-day, you're gonna find that maybe only 3 of them do. So I do believe that other things there's still a lot of other problems to solve, especially on the continent. AI is not going to solve all the problems we have. Like Michelle just brought up one big problem we have in the continent: electricity. You know, you don't get AI without solving electricity. You know, high-speed internet. You don't get AI without solving high-speed internet. Education. So there's so many problems the continent has that AI isn't the biggest problem we have. We just believe that AI can be a tool to accelerate some of the solutions that we prefer. So I do think investors, smart investors and VCs should be investing in a lot of infrastructure projects, because to me, those are the ones that are definitely going to pay dividends for years to come. You know, so if a VC is not investing in something because there's no AI in it, I feel sorry for that VC. But I do think over the next 5 years, 10 years, when a lot of things have improved, we're going to see a lot of AI needs at that point. By that time, AI will probably either gone mainstream or will go the way of crypto, where it's a bust. So that the jury's still out on that for now. Yeah. In the interest of time, Chinasa, I'm not gonna ask you to add your context because
no worries. Yeah, but I would love to get to Kojo and Dumabi. So I'm happy to. Let's start with Kojo.
Yes.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for the talk. Really found it insightful and enjoyable. I had a question really on just to get your take on, in terms of these multinational sort of AI research labs that we're seeing sort of pop up more in the continent. So, you know, Google in Accra, IBM in Kenya, South Africa, Microsoft. What role do you see for these AI research labs in the market moving forward? And also in terms of how they operate working with local communities compared to like homegrown grassroots groups, the LARPA, they've all been mentioned. But like, what role do you see for these multinational AI research labs in the continent?
Yeah, so actually had the chance to talk to someone about this earlier today, but I think that they do have a strong role to play in one, providing opportunities for African, AI and machine learning researchers to have opportunities to contribute to products that will actually, be deployed and impact people's lives. I would say that Google definitely has a really interesting flood forecasting system that's been really, I would say, successful in predicting floods throughout the continent and also worldwide. And I think these applications are very much needed. IBM has done a lot of work in healthcare, especially throughout the continent as well. I think that these companies themselves also provide a launching pad for one, people to start their careers, and then also hopefully to do spin-offs or go and venture off on their own to focus on their respective endeavors. And I think that this is a great opportunity to engage with these local communities themselves. I know that Google, for example, funds lots of different African academics at research institutions, and I think that this could definitely be increased, and would love to see more academic industry collaboration in this space. Cobih, if you have any insights too.
No, in the interest of time, we're just gonna keep rolling. Thanks for that question, Kojo. Very good one. And Dumebi still with us? Yes.
I am. She's still here. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure listening to both of you, particularly about that comment you made about investing in the AI value chain. I think that was pretty, that's something we should look forward to. So my question is more so, everyone is racing towards 2030, right? And beyond, kind of. So my question is, we are all trying, especially on the continent, to create the infrastructure and the policies that will enable us to be somewhat competitive. But from a pragmatic point of view, I wanted to hear your opinion. In the instance that we are not able to measure up, what are your thoughts on ways we can position ourselves to maintain some semblance of independence or relevance in the conversation 5-10 years from now?
I mean, I still believe the way we should leverage our strengths. Our strengths are things that nobody else can do for us. Nobody else is going to come to your village and get that language and digitize them and label them and clean them so that way it can be used by some AI company. So those things are, OpenAI is never coming to your village. OpenAI is never coming to my village. So there's all these things that these Western big conglomerates are never going to do. So those are things we can do, we can start doing today, we can keep doing. And whenever we do finally catch up, those things will still be useful. I think we should focus on our differentiators, what makes us different. There's certain things we shouldn't do. Let's not go build foundational models. One, it's too expensive. Two, we don't have the money, there's climate change effect to that. Let's do what we're definitely empowered to do, and we can do better than the other people. That would be my strategy for how Africans can still be competitive in that space. That things most people can do and we need to do for ourselves. Over to you, Chinasa.
Yeah, and just to close up, I think that investing in fundamental academic research is really important, just because we've seen how this is the basic tenet or the structure foundation for many popular advances in machine learning. I think that the US and Canada in particular have contributed heavily to this, and for Africa to be competitive, we have to start publishing at these top AI and machine learning venues, and focus on improving our pipeline of masters and PhD students to ensure that they have a voice on the global stage of AI as well.
+1.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, so we have gone way over time. Folakemi was so sorry. So we're gonna.
No worries. I can tell. This was a great session. So first off, I just want to thank the both of you for joining us here today and sharing your knowledge. And I'm sure everyone on this call also enjoyed the conversations. If you have any more questions for our speakers, feel free to just send us an email and we will pass it on to our speakers. And you can also follow them on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, social media really. So Cobih, Chinasa, please can you just drop your LinkedIn anywhere you want people to reach out to you? That would be great. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. So now we'll just quickly run through our Oak updates because we're way above time. So let's just get that. Thank you, Chinasa. Next
Thank
slide.
you. Thanks
Okay.
for having us.
Yes. Great. So we have deals open right now. We have 4 deals that are currently open on platform. If you would like to check out these deals, so we have done the Meet the Founder sessions. This is a recording of us speaking to, so like just like a call like this, we're speaking to the founders, we're asking questions. All of that information is on platform. So we have the memo, we have the deck, all the things that you need to make decisions is on platform. So if you're interested, please log into your platform dashboard and view the deals. Right. Next slide. We have a podcast, right? We have a podcast where we speak to founders. We're always trying to learn. We're always trying to learn from each other. Like I said earlier, Oak is a community of entrepreneurs. So like we're trying to do better for ourselves, really. So we have a podcast. You can check it out on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Music. We have just uploaded 3 new podcasts, so please check them out. Right. So we just launched Oak Talent, right? What Oak Talent is for hiring people that are looking for jobs and also for portfolio companies that are looking to hire talent. So if you're a talent, you're a portfolio company, please just use that link and you can just register and we will be in touch with you. We are still raising a fund. Oak Fund is a $5 million fund with the aim to invest in founders who are building tech and tech-enabled startups for Africa and its diaspora. Please use that link as well if you're interested in being an LP for the fund. To learn more about us, please visit oak.co. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok. I mean, we're anywhere you are, we're there. So please feel free to also use any of these mediums to reach us as well. With that being said, thank you very much for joining us today. We